does make me want to try more games like this, which I think is a very interesting. Um, I think it's very interesting that the game lets you see what the consequences, part of the consequences of your actions, without fully doing them. So you can see like the immediate consequence, what immediately is going to happen because you did something. But you're not allowed to see the future results. Like when I dropped those folders in with the files, I immediately thought like, oh, I got to rewind time. I can't, uh, I can't explain everything that's going on. What will I do? Not in the mood to see the Fallout background, man. It's so close. We're so close. Don't get too angry. Ooh, there, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. Shh. Can't see the Fallout background. So, like, that's the one that bothers me. Like, of all the things that I missed, not looking in that folder bothers me the most. Which is like how they get you to want to replay the game, right? Because they're like, "Oh, you missed this little thing that we're telling you about it later, and because we're telling you about it later, we're going to, um, we're going to make you want to play the game again." Which I think a lot of games lack, like in terms of storyline RPGs. For example, the Borderlands games, not counting Tales of the Borderlands because I haven't played that yet. Borderlands 1 and 2 I've played, if not completely through, all the close to completely through. In in the Borderlands games, right, you progress along a storyline, and it's a pretty good storyline. I enjoy it. It's fun to play through. Great shooting, great action. There's some cool RPG elements and leveling up and choosing how you want your character to be and all that kind of stuff. But there's not really any points. There's very few points in the game where you can make decisions. And the decisions that you make in those games don't have very far-reaching consequences generally. Spoiler alert: in Borderlands 2, for example, there's no way any decision you can make can save Roland. Roland is going to die as part of. I don't know if he actually dies, and I haven't beat the game, but in part of the game he dies. There's nothing I could have done to prevent that. But I feel like in this game we can we can prevent certain things by happening by changing the course by making different options, which I think is really unique to these kind of Telltale games and Life is Strange, and it makes me want to play more of them, which I really wasn't sure about. Like I own the Telltale games Borderland one, and I've watched part of a playthrough of the Wolf Among Us, and I was like, oh, it seemed pretty cool, but am I seeing all that is really in there? Yeah, exactly, Chief. There's things that can be done, and it makes you go, I can affect the outcome of that. And it makes you feel more in control. So it feels far more like a true RPG in that sense, where you're actually making game changing decisions rather than. Okay, here's a great example. In tabletop RPGs, there's a term called railroading. I don't know if you guys are tabletop RPGers or not. Um, in what railroading means is your dungeon master, the guy who's guiding you along, is going to make sure that you stay to his storyline and do not deviate from it. So there's a couple different methods of doing this. Like you start in the dungeon that you're going. You get a quest and you start in the dungeon, and that's what your party is going to do. And you're going to go through this dungeon. There's no way out except to go back to the front, and then you wouldn't have accomplished your mission, or the tunnel is sealed off, so you can't get out except by going forward. There's that method. The other method is present the idea of a choice, like, oh, you guys are a caravan wandering through the woods and a dragon flies overhead. It's burning a village. Like, what are you going to do? Well, of course you could let the village die, but you're going to go save the village because unless you're an evil party, that's just what you do. So I think the subtle manipulation of you doing things is what matters. Like, you're always going to get railroaded slightly. The DM can guide you in some sense. It's always going to guide you in some sense. Just like the game's always going to guide you in a certain direction. They have a story to tell. But these games seem to be able to immerse you into it enough that you can make your own decisions and change the outcome. I think that's pretty cool. It's something we've really only seen until recently out of horror games, where and that's where it's really gotten popular, is in horror games. Which is unfortunate because I hate horror games. I don't like being scared. I don't like I don't like being scared, and which is why people get such a kick out of yeah, Chief, that's a good idea. Play the game as you would do, which I think which is interesting because I think I would have hidden. I would have kept hidden. Like, for example, that hidden part. I would have hid. So she asked me to hide so she wouldn't get in more trouble. That's what I would have done. And as he started going off, I would have stayed hidden because I'm not seeing anything coming that's going to be terrible, right? So the question then becomes, do you come out before he hits her? Do you rewind to that point, to that decision, where you say, I'm going to come out now so he knows someone else is here, and then I'll take credit for the marijuana, and then I get in more trouble? Or do I, what I would have done personally, was after he hit her come out. Now, there wasn't that option. I would have came out immediately after her. I saw that, you motherfucker. Like, I'm fucking calling the cops right now. You just hit a kid. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know if she's a kid, but, that's what you do. So, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'm interested to see where this story takes us. Which I think is going to be kind of cool. And I agree, Chief. I'm kind of playing it in the middle ground. I'm playing it partially how I would do it, partially how I think an 18-year-old would react. I'm 31 now. How I would react now is not necessarily how I would react when I was. And I think, to me, I want to see how I would have. I want to put it how I might have reacted when I was 8. Not how I wish I would have reacted when I was 8. How I would have reacted to a certain situation. Then again, as soon as I saw someone smoking a joint when I was 18, I would have been like, oh my god, what are you doing? Pot is so bad for you. Don't do drugs, kids. That would have been my option, as I'm not much of a drug person. I don't think anyone's a terrible person for doing it, but all right, we're almost done with the update. Done installing. We'll start chapter 2.